is wide. And Gauff into a second semi-final here in Dubai. That was a very, very solid performance from the third seed. She came into...
I am sitting here in my studio in absolute stunned silence, and I honestly do not even know where to begin. The reality of what we just witnessed on center court has completely shattered every expectation, every tactical model, and every narrative we built over the last 48 hours. I need everyone to pull up a chair, put your phones on Do Not Disturb, and listen closely, because I am staring at the official Raw post-match statistics from the Coco Gauff vs Alex Eala quarterfinal, and my mind is struggling to process the sheer level of athletic dominance that just unfolded. For the past 2 days, we talked about how this was going to be an epic, grueling baseline battle. We discussed how Alex Eala was supposedly the perfect tactical kryptonite for Coco Gauff. We analyzed the numbers, studied the trends, and prepared ourselves for what was expected to be the match of the tournament. Instead, Coco Gauff walked onto the court, locked eyes with the hottest rising star in tennis, and delivered a performance that was nothing short of ruthless. Forget whatever highlight clips you saw on social media, because I am about to explain exactly how an American superstar delivered one of the most terrifying reality checks in recent tennis history. Before breaking down the sheer brutality of this statistical performance, I want to speak directly to the two incredibly passionate fan bases that made this matchup the most anticipated quarterfinal of the year. First, to the Coco Gauff fans, you have every right to celebrate today. You stood by your Grand Slam champion through criticism of her serve, doubts about her forehand, and whispers of vulnerability. Today, she did not merely silence those critics, she erased them. She proved once again why she is the apex predator of her generation. And to the Eala army, I know how painful this moment is. I understand the disbelief you are feeling as you stare at that 6-2, 6-2 scoreline. You poured your passion into supporting this remarkable young talent, and watching her get overwhelmed like this is a brutally hard pill to swallow. But this is not the end of Alex Eala's journey. In fact, this is one of the most valuable lessons she will ever experience. She just saw what the absolute ceiling of professional tennis looks like, and she learned what happens when a brilliant tactical game collides headfirst with a once-in-a-generation athletic force.
For the third seed, she came into a cauldron of an atmosphere here with the crowd behind Eala, but she kept them quiet, winning the first 10 games. Yes, there was a little wobble as Eala attempted the comeback.
Let's completely strip away the illusion of what happened on that court and confront the brutal, undeniable mathematics of this match. We have to begin with Alex Eala's side of the stat sheet, because all week we praised her elite baseline intelligence and her ability to win without relying on free points. Today, that exact strategy was exposed in the most ruthless way possible. Eala landed a respectable 61% of her first serves, which in previous matches was enough to spark the long grinding rallies she thrives on. But today, her first serve points won dropped to a shocking 32%. Let that number sink in. 32%. That means nearly 70% of the time she landed her primary weapon, she still lost the point. That happened because Coco Gauff recognized immediately that Eala's serve had no real venom. She stepped far inside the baseline, treated the serve like a mid-court practice ball, and attacked relentlessly. Eala did not hit a single ace, which meant she had no way to push Gauff back. Coco read the toss, took massive cuts, and hijacked the point from the very first strike. With her first serve being demolished, all the pressure shifted onto Eala's second serve. In the previous round, she had posted a staggering 74% win rate on second serve. Against Gauff, that number collapsed to just 40%. Eala was clearly afraid to miss, knowing that even the slightest float would be punished. Her baseline dominance evaporated because Gauff simply refused to let her find rhythm. Constantly defending, constantly scrambling, and constantly hitting on the run, Eala could generate no sustained pressure and managed to win just 19 receiving points in the entire match. But the most terrifying part of this breakdown, and the reason the entire WTA Tour should be deeply concerned, is what Coco Gauff did despite her own mechanical struggles. Gauff won this quarterfinal 6-0, 6-2 while hitting 8 double faults in a match that lasted only 14 games. Her first serve percentage was just 55%, meaning she missed nearly half of her first deliveries. In any normal scenario, 8 double faults and inconsistent serving would drag a player into a messy, extended battle. But Coco Gauff is not normal. She is a different species of athlete. When Gauff did land her first serve, she won a staggering 74% of those points. Even on her second serve, she claimed 64%. She masked her serving inconsistencies by becoming the undisputed dictator of every rally. Her ball striking was heavy, her movement explosive, and her defense suffocating. Eala was completely paralyzed. Gauff won 55 total points compared to Eala's 33, a dominant plus 22 differential. She hit only one ace, proving this wasn't about overpowering serves. She won by fundamentally outplaying, out-hitting, and outclassing her opponent from the baseline. If you want absolute proof of how thoroughly Gauff broke Eala's spirit, look no further than the momentum statistics. The maximum consecutive games won tells the whole story. Coco Gauff captured 10 games in a row. 10. Imagine the psychological devastation. Eala walked onto center court for the biggest match of her life, lost the first set 6-0, tried to reset, and immediately fell behind 4-0 in the second. That is not just losing, it is being placed in a complete psychological chokehold. For nearly an hour, she searched desperately for solutions, looking to her coach, cycling through every tactic she had, and finding absolutely no answers to the riddle that is Coco Gauff. Eala's maximum consecutive games won was just 2, and those came late, when the outcome was already decided and Gauff was simply playing out the finish. And on the biggest points, Gauff showed absolute ruthlessness. She generated 9 breakpoint chances and converted 6 of them, a brutal 66% conversion rate that defines a true closer. When she saw even the smallest crack, she drove straight through it. Meanwhile, despite her double faults, Gauff allowed Eala only 2 breakpoint opportunities, sealing complete control of the match. Eala had 2 breakpoint opportunities, and she converted just 1. Even when Coco Gauff handed her an opening, she simply could not capitalize because the Americans' defensive coverage was so intimidating. Gauff won 12 total games to Eala's 2, captured 26 receiving points to Eala's 19, and dominated service points 29-14. In every measurable category and in every facet of the game, Coco Gauff was overwhelmingly superior. What this match proves, both to me and to every analyst, coach and player on tour, is that Coco Gauff is operating on an entirely different level of reality. She showed that she does not even need her A-game to completely dismantle one of the most intelligent and highly touted rising stars in tennis. She struggled with her toss, hit 8 double faults, landed just 55% of her first serves, and still delivered a brutal 6-0, 6-2 beatdown. That is a terrifying prospect for the rest of the draw. It means that you cannot rely on her making mistakes. To beat Coco Gauff, you must step onto the court and hit clean winners past the fastest woman in the sport, and you must do it consistently for 2 straight hours. Alex Eala tried to play her usual grinding, tactical game, and Coco simply overwhelmed it. Gauff's raw power, speed, and athletic intimidation completely short-circuited Eala's tennis intelligence. For Eala, this will be a long and quiet flight home, but she needs to study this stat sheet closely. She needs to frame that 32% first serve win rate and use it as fuel. Today, she learned that if she wants to become a Grand Slam champion and consistently compete with the elite monsters of the WTA Tour, she must develop a weapon that earns free points. She cannot rely solely on grinding, because players like Coco Gauff do not get tired and are not intimidated by long rallies. Eala needs an ace. She needs a heavier, more dangerous first serve. Because if she steps onto the court against another elite athlete with 0 aces and a 32% first serve win rate, the same brutal outcome will happen again. This was a harsh lesson, but also a necessary one for a young star with a bright future. Now I want to hear from you. I need the comment section to explode. To the Coco Gauff fans, how validating was it to see her crush the hype and silence the doubters with a 10-game winning streak? Do you think she can ride this momentum all the way to the trophy, or do those 8 double faults still concern you heading into the semifinals? And to the Eala army, be honest, are you discouraged by this 6-0, 6-2 reality check, Or do you see it as a painful but essential step in her development? What is the first thing Eala needs to work on when she returns to the practice court? Drop your raw, unfiltered thoughts below. Make sure to hit that like button to push this deep dive analysis through the algorithm, and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next breakdown.